Welcome back to algebra class. Today we're going to be factoring trinomials. Our objective is to be able to solve trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. When solving equations by factoring, in order to solve a trinomial by factoring, the equation must be equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, then we must rearrange it. In order to solve our factored problems, we have to use the zero product property. We use the zero product property when our polynomial is already factored. Let's go ahead and look at some examples. So here's our first example. We're going to check for a GCF, which there is no GCF between 527 and 10. So we're going to go ahead and start solving this problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my box. I know I'm going to have 5x squared here. I'm going to have 10 here. I can go ahead and make my t-chart. In this case, I want it to multiply to 50, and I want it to add to 27. So I start with 1 and 50. That gives me 51. Try 2 and 25. That gives me 27, which is what I want. So I'm going to use 2x and 27x, or 25x. Now, the GCF in my top row, which is this right here, is x. The GCF in my bottom row is 5. X times 5x will give me a 5x squared, and x times 2 will give me a 2x. Now I can rewrite these in factored form. So I have x plus 5. I have 5x plus 2 equals 0. Now I need to use the zero product property to solve both of these things out. So I have x plus 5 equals 0, and I have 5x plus 2 equals 0. For my first one, I can subtract 5 on both sides on the red one, so I get x equals negative 5. My green equation, I can say I have 5x plus 2 equals 0, so I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, so I get 5x equals negative 2. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 5, so I get x equals negative 2 over 5. My smaller number is negative 5, so I'm going to say negative 5, comma, negative 2. This is my answer. Let's look at our next example. So once again, I do not have this equation equal to 0, so I need to make that happen. So I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. So I have 6x squared minus 14x minus 12 equals 0. Now I need to check for a GCF, which in this case I do have a GCF. All of these can be divided by 2. And because I did that, part of my final answer is going to have a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write that up there. So I have 3x squared minus 7x minus 6 equals 0. I no longer need this whole top half part, so I'm going to cross that off. Make my box. I have 3x squared here, negative 6 here. Make my product sum table. I want it to multiply to negative 18, and I want it to add to negative 7. So I'm going to try negative 1 and 18. I get 17. Try negative 2 and 9. I get positive 7. So that means I need to make this a positive 2 and a negative 9 to get negative 7. So I have 2x, negative 9x. Okay. GCF in my top row is x. GCF in my bottom row, it's touching a negative, so it's got to be a negative 3. X times 3x, sorry about the marker, I'm not cooperating. X times 3x gives me that 3x squared, and x times 2 gives me that 2x. So I'm going to write my answers out here. Go ahead, write it as 2. I have x minus 3, and then 3x plus 2 That whole thing has to be equal to 0. I'm going to use the zero product property 3 times, so I say 2 equals 0. I say x minus 3 equals 0. And I say 3x plus 2 equals 0. My purple equation, 2 does not equal 0, and that's solved, so that's actually not an answer, so we can cross that off. My red equation, I'm going to add 3 on both sides, so I get x equals 3. My green equation, I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, so I get 3x equals negative 2. Then I'm going to divide by 3, I get x equals negative 2 over 3. Go ahead and write my answer out. Negative 2/3 is smaller. So I write that one first. Let's go ahead and look at our next problem. Here, I need to move that 15x over, but it needs to go into the middle. So I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides. So I get 21x squared minus 15x minus 6 equals 0. There is a GCF again here. It is 3. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3. That's going to be part of my factors. So I get 7x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. I no longer need all that top stuff. I have my box, got my table. So 7x squared is going to go here. Negative 2 goes here. 7 times negative 2, I want it to multiply to negative 14 and add to negative 5. So I start with negative 1 and 14. That's going to be 13. That's not what I want. Negative 2 and 7, that's 5. I need the opposite of that, so it's going to be 2 and negative 7, which is going to give me that negative 5 that I need. So I get 2x and negative 7x. My top row, my GCF is x. My bottom row, my GCF is going to be negative 1. X times 7x gives me that 7x squared. X times 2 is going to give me that 2x. So here I have x minus 1. Here I have 7x plus 2. That whole thing is once again equal to 0. So I need to use the zero product property now. I say 3 equals 0 for my first one. X minus 1 equals 0. 7x plus 2 equals 0. Three does not equal 0, so we don't need that one. My red equation, I can add 1 on both sides, so I get x equals 1. My green equation, 7x, I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, so I get negative 2 there. I'm going to divide both sides by 7, so I get x equals negative 2 over 7. Negative 2 over 7 is smaller, so that's going to be part of my final answer first. And I'm all set there. Let's go ahead and move on to our next example. So here our stuff is out of order, so I'm going to go ahead and reorder it so it is in order. So I'm going to rewrite it as 8w squared minus 18w plus 9 equals 0. There is no GCF, so this is what I'm going to be working with here. I'm going to go ahead, draw my box, draw my table. I have 8w squared and 9. This time I want it to multiply to 72 and add to negative 18. So I try 1 and 72. That gives me 73. That's not what I need. I'm going to try 2 and 36. That gives me 38. That is not what I need. I'm going to try 3. So let's see. if 3 is divisible by 72, which it is, so it's going to be 3 and 24. That's 27. Let's see if 4, we have 4 and 18, which gives me 22. 5 does not work. 6 works, so we get 6 and 12, and that's the 18 I want, but it's not what I exactly want, so it's got to be -6 and -12 to give me that -18. So we get -6W and -12W. Okay, go ahead, do my GCFs here. So 2W is my GCF of my top row. And then this is touching a negative, so it's going to be -3. Up top, I'm going to have 4W, and then -3 over here. So I'm going to say 2W minus 3, 4W minus 3. That whole thing equals 0. Use the zero product property here. So I say 2W minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to say 4W minus 3 equals 0. Solve both of these out. So 2W equals 3, divide by 2. So I get W equals 3 over 2. On my red equation, I'm going to add 3, so I get 4W equals 3. Divide both sides by 4. I get W equals 3 over 4. The smaller answer is 3 over 4, so when I write that out, that, and then 3 over 2 comes next. We have one more example to go. So here I need to get my like terms all together, so I have to subtract 3b squared on both sides. When I do that, I get 15b squared minus 19b minus 8 equals -5b. I'm going to add 5b on both sides, so I get 15b squared minus 14b minus 8 equals 0. There is no GCF that I can pull out there, so I can simply just cross off my top row here. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my box, make my table. I put 15b squared here, -8 over here. This time I want my problem to multiply to a -120. And I want it to add to -14. So I'm going to start with -1 and 120. That adds to 119. -2 and 60 is going to be 58. -3 and 40 will be 37. -4 and 30 is going to be 26. -5 and 24 is going to be 19. I'm going to keep this going here. So we have -6 and 20 is going to be 14, which is the opposite of what I want. So I'm going to make it 6, and -20 is the -14. So we get 6b and -20b. I need to factor out my GCFs. So in the top one, it's going to be 3b. Bottom row, sorry about that. Bottom row is going to be negative 4. 3b times 5b gives me that top row, and then 3b times 2 gives me the 6b. Now I'm going to have 3b minus 4, 5b plus 2 equals 0. Use the zero product property to solve both of these. So I have 3b minus 4 equals 0. 5b plus 2 equals 0. I add 4 on both sides for the red equation, so I get 3b equals 4. Divide both sides by 3, I get b equals 4/3. Solve the green equation, subtract 2 on both sides, I get 5b equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 5, I get b equals negative 2 over 5. Negative 2 over 5 is the smaller number. And we are all done. Good luck on your homework.